Hey, welcome back to Large Man Abroad. Let's have a talk. As you can see, there's a big fat smile on my face. That's because the big beautiful tax bill that Donald Trump was putting forward just got blocked. It's good to know that there's still some Republicans over there that are willing to jump over the aisle to prevent something truly evil from being pushed through. This bill was painted over as some kind of life-saving bill that's going to make the lives just better for all American people. The fact that there was so much garbage in that, the fact that they were trying to cut Medicare for millions of people, cut $1 trillion from food assistance programs. I mean, it's a terrible bill. I mean, we can intellectualize it all day, all we want. But the fact is, this bill is poisonous. It would kill. It would drive up the deficit over the years, increase taxes on the poorest people. Overall, just make people's lives miserable. And as far as the tax cuts on tips, on overtime, stuff like that, it didn't even do that like it promised. There's no reason for this bill to go through. All this bill would have done would be to give tax cuts to the richest people in this nation. You know, people whose lives are pretty okay. I mean, objectively, you know, if you're super wealthy, your life's pretty okay. A big tax cut, what more do you need? The poorest people in the country right now, to jack up their tax rates, I mean, who's that going to benefit? Is that going to benefit anyone in America? No, not really. I mean, it's just going to sow more division in this country. It's going to make people's lives so much more difficult than they actually need to be. And for what purpose? For pride? Because that's what it feels like it is at this point. All of this is just from pride. The thing is, Trump isn't a dictator, even if that's what he wants to be. Republican lawmakers can still make the choice to do good or to do evil. And on this occasion, thankfully, some decided to do good. That's just an assumption, of course. I don't trust any politician. But the fact that some are willing to stick their finger in Trump's eye, hey, that gives me a little bit of pride and a little bit of hope in our country. It really does. Because it really feels like we're teetering on the edge right now. And if this bill is repackaged with all this bad stuff still in it and is still able to pass, it's going to push a lot of people over the edge. Financially, mentally, it's just going to be bad. It's going to be bad for everyone. Because that's the thing, the fight isn't over. This thing is going to come back. This agenda is something that's promised to his supporters, and his supporters don't care what's in that bill. They hear tax cut on tips and overtime, and they're like, hey, go, go, go. Even if they're shown proof that does not actually benefit them in the way that they think it's going to, they're still going to support it because they just believe what dear leader says. And that's the fundamental flaw in that supporter base's thought process, is that they will not think for themselves anymore. They're just going to follow the leader. And honestly, it's a bit disgusting for any other politician to do that exact same thing, because all it is fear of not being able to get reelected, because they know they stand up to Daddy Trump, he's going to go ahead and make sure they don't get reelected. So I mean, it is a kind of political coercion that's happening here. And that's why when he sends out a tweet saying that the Republican Party needs to act in solidarity and push through this bill, you know, that's essentially giving an order to deny the wishes of these politicians' constituents, right? This is what a dictator does, right? This is a representative democracy. You may be a member of the Republican Party, but you still have constituents, and you represent those people. You don't represent Trump. And I think that's the big mistake with the Republican Party right now. A lot of people, they're representing Trump's wishes instead of the will of the people, instead of the will of the people who elected them in the first place. It's a mistake. And in the end, I think it's going to cost the GOP and the Republican Party dearly, because right now it's costing the American people dearly financially. It's just causing the American people a lot of stress, because there's so much uncertainty in not just the financial world, but just in our futures at this point. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Because the political landscape right now is just in absolute chaos. But maybe this kind of chaos is exactly what the American people need, because it's going to shake things up a bit and maybe show some gaps in that solidarity and turn to infighting. You know, because like I said, these politicians, they should still have the ability to speak up against their leader. That's what this country is. This isn't a kingdom. This isn't a dictatorship. You know, our politicians, as much as I dislike them, and I truly do, there's only like 5 or 6 politicians that I actually like. The rest, you can't trust them as far as you can throw them, and people are pretty heavy, so you're not throwing them far. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this thing gets repackaged, put in front of Congress, and they just push it through with all that same BS in there. Maybe there just isn't enough BS in there. And that's the thing. I don't think that's what it is. It's pretty obvious that this thing is obviously terrible, and the obvious decision is to block it and not allow this thing to ever see the light of day again, because the big beautiful bill is a big beautiful nightmare. And I'm glad that for now it's not America's problem. It's Donald Trump's problem. And this is a good thing for me. Like I said, that's why it's very important who you elect locally. It's not just about the president. It's not just about the senator. You know, it's about pushing the goals and aims of your constituency. And this is something that we need to do more on the local level. We need to have more appreciation for that. You know, we got to show up for the midterms. We got to show up for every election cycle. You know, go to a town hall meeting, you know, participate in the electoral process. I know a lot of people don't have faith in it. And to be honest, I don't have faith. I don't have much faith in it, but I have faith in people, which I know a lot of you will disagree with. And I think that people can do remarkable things, like stand up against an apparent tyrant, even though you're supposed to be agreeing with him, even though it might cost you your career. I still believe in people. And when people do these things, it's important that we acknowledge the bravery that takes, because trust me, to stand against this bill, if you're in the Republican Party, is brave, because there's a good chance that when it comes time for you to be reelected, that party is going to do everything that they can do to make sure that you never step foot in Washington, D.C. again. That's a fact. For now, the big beautiful bill is done. It's not something that we have to worry about. We can have a moment where we take a big, deep sigh of relief and know that people are still going to have their health care. People are still going to be able to go get food if they can't afford it. And America isn't one step closer to seeing a reverse Robin Hood become a real life thing, because it seems like that's the goal of this bill, just to move assets from the lowest class to the highest class is all it feels like. But anyway, hey, thanks for stopping by. A little update, a little news thing. Tell me what you think. Put them in the comment section, because do you think it's going to get pushed through? Because I knew that this thing's really still going to get pushed. I don't know, but interested what your guys' opinions are. Hey, like and subscribe. Other than that, everyone, it is Friday. This is good news for a Friday, you know? And if you just got paid like I did, hey, everyone, have a good Friday. The working class, the poor class, they are Americans just as much as you are, although they may not make as much. They still live lives. They still have families. And to penalize them and eventually move to criminalize them is an absolute failure on our country.
There are not even any Republicans left in this hearing. They all left because they don't even want to defend this. But meanwhile, the speaker is rushing to the floor to pass a budget reconciliation to screw America by passing the biggest tax cut in history on the backs of the American people. WTF?